What's going on, everyone? Today, I have a special guest, Shane, who is an expert developer and master franchisee, right? Is that right, Shane?
Yeah, regional developer. Yeah.
Regional developer. And growing up, I always see all these franchise. You hear the word franchise all the time. What exactly is it that you do, Shane?
So the first thing is understanding franchising, right? So franchising is a method of business expansion whereby you can use set systems of success to increase likelihood of success on each unit basis. There are different ways to expand a franchise. You could do a corporate expansion like Starbucks does, where almost all of their units are owned by Starbucks corporate. And then I guess in the same industry, the other side of that model would be like Dunkin' Donuts, where Dunkin' Donuts are mostly all sub-franchise, where the franchisor licenses the brand to individual business owners who want to build that location. McDonald's is also sub-franchised. The vast majority of franchise concepts you see out there are all sub-franchised. So my role as regional developer is kind of that middle point where I'm partners with corporate to develop the brand across the territory. And then I also partner with franchisees to help them find their success and build business organization.
What's one of your franchisees that you can talk about?
Yeah, so the one that I've spent the last 12 years in is called The Joint Chiropractic. So it's a national franchise of chiropractic clinics, almost 1,000 locations nationwide. Now I have the greater Florida region, which is almost all of Florida minus the southeast corner, and be able to fit about 100 locations in my territory, of which I've got about 2/3 of them open and a bunch more still in development as well.
Gotcha. What kind of educational background do you need to get this kind of skills?
So the educational background is not nearly as important as the experience side. So when I take a look at, I have 20 different franchise partners across the state of Florida, and the ones that are the most successful are the ones who understand leadership, team culture, how to drive that, and the ones who are going to be actively engaged in the business on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. The ones who have all of the educational pedigree, but maybe want to be a little more distant to the business, are often a little more in the middle ground. Yeah, I didn't go to college, didn't have money to. Yep. Didn't have the money. If I look back, like I would have loved to have went and got an MBA. I would have been able to leverage that. But there's a little bit of a saying in franchising: once you go through the process of developing a franchise, but you go through 4 years of business operation in a franchise system, and it's about the equivalent of an MBA.
That's awesome. Yeah. To hear stories where you didn't have to go through college to become this or to oversee multi-million-dollar business development and all that. So that's great. I mean, that gives people hope that, for guys who are not really the school type, to say, hey, if you can develop your skills in niches, then you can be very successful. Did you take courses on leadership or go to seminars to build up this skill? Yeah,
absolutely. And it's also something that you learn through trial and error over time. Yeah. As you are building a business and you realize that you don't have the best employee retention, and you're trying to figure out why. What is it that I'm doing that I can improve on to make a better environment? And you learn this over time, and then absolutely invest in yourself. Read books on leadership, go to leadership conferences, be immersed in it. And when you can make the transition in your own mind of how to be that servant leader is where you will start to find that you're able to develop a better working culture, and that people will stay with you longer. They'll be more enthusiastic about working with you. But absolutely invest in yourself. The number one skill set in order to be successful building businesses is understanding that leadership component. Let's say I have an A+ personality, and maybe he's a C on the technical skill set, right? Versus somebody else, another candidate who's an A+ on the technical skill set, but maybe a C personality.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the personality all day long.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that A+ personality, and we can work up his skill set,
yeah.
right? But it's a lot more challenging to take someone who just isn't an outgoing person and doesn't maybe have the skill set the communication skill set to be able to bring someone through a thought journey of understanding, influence actions.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot more difficult to develop, which we can over time, but it's a long journey.
Yeah.
You know, you can develop up a technical skill set in 6 months. Developing up a personality skill set might take 5 years.
Exactly.
Right?
So you had some failed ventures. At what point were you like, I made it?
Before I got into franchising, I feel like I really kind of broke through when I was doing public speaking. I was doing sales seminars, and I started achieving some really great success in that. And I was feeling very accomplished in it. But even so, I was still contracting and working ultimately for someone else. Even though I was making great money and very successful, I needed to invest that talent and ability set into myself to build my own successful future. And I don't feel like I had truly broken through yet, even though I was doing very well. And when you're starting a business, don't expect to make any money from that business in the first year.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Second year, might make a little bit of money, but it wasn't probably until about year 3 or 4 where I'm like, okay, I'm doing well, because now I'd expanded to 2 or 3 locations, starting to make some money off of each of them, and where I got to the point where I felt like I was doing well. And all of that led me up to the opportunity to partner with the brand and take the regional developer rights for Florida and develop the brand across the state of Florida. That's where I probably felt like I'd really broken through. So that was kind of a moment. And then, you know, started working with teams, started developing skill sets with my franchise partners, helping out the ones that were struggling, turning around their business operations, helping them become successful. And that's really where I felt the most fulfillment, was seeing the impact that I could have on other entrepreneurs, on my franchise partners and business partners when they were trying to build their own small organizations within the brand under my organization, and to see how I could make a dramatic impact in their success. And over time, as I did more and more of that, I kept focused on helping develop my franchise partners' teams and their skill sets. My success was the byproduct. It wasn't the goal.
Yeah.
You know, my success was the byproduct of investing my time and expertise in helping my franchise partners.
And I feel like everything that you do takes a lot of money to keep developing. So as your wealth was building up, did you splurge right away, or did you take that money and just like reinvest in? I have this goal. I'm going to build this really high up there, so I'm going to use all that money to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was never one to splurge.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I didn't buy the Maserati until it was almost ridiculous for me not to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I always saved every penny. To be honest, and if I hadn't done that, I would not be where I'm at today. If I hadn't done that, if I was going out and throwing around my money and splurging and going out to the nightclubs and dropping, $500 a night, in nightclubs and buying really nice vehicles that were beyond my means, I could not have broken through to where I'm at, because it does take a certain amount of seed capital to be able to get into this. And what a lot of people might not realize, it's maybe not as much as they might think. Mm-hmm. All you need is probably about $100,000 of liquid capital and the ability to be financed, because there are SBA loans that are dedicated, backed by the federal government, which give banks the confidence to loan to business startups. Because so many businesses fail, it's a bad bet for a bank to invest in a startup business location. So the federal government realizes and understands that they need to facilitate business growth. And so they guarantee typically 75% of the loan. Franchise investment startups are a lot more comfortable and safer for a bank to extend an SBA loan to than your own kind of homebrewed concoction on your own little business SKU that you want to do. So I started looking into it. Who's winning and who's losing, right? Who is driving up the failure rate? And I'm like, is it certain industries that are more successful? Is it, obviously tech startups have a huge fail rate. But what I discovered was that small independent businesses, non-branded, have a failure rate in excess of 80%.
Wow.
But when you take a look at franchised new business startups, they had a success rate of around 80%. I'm like, wow, why wouldn't I just invest into a franchise business where the model is already set out for me and I just need to be really good at executing it? I don't have to get incredibly creative and trying to find some new gap in the industry to try and fill that gap and create a new business when there's already so many well-established franchises out there. I can find one that speaks to me. Yeah. That I can really get behind and love building and love working in. And so that's what I did. I happen to have a friend who had several Massage Envy franchises. I talked to him about franchising. He loved it. He had come from corporate America himself. And it was really exciting to hear how successful he was doing in franchising. And I'm like, well, I'm in. You want to partner up on one? He's like, hell yeah, let's do it, right? And so we jumped in and we developed the first locations in Atlanta. Now Atlanta's over 50 locations. And
how long did it take you to build that first location? And then you're like, this is successful. We need to build a second one.
Yeah, so great question. I mean, unfortunately, people don't realize that there is a lead-up process to opening an actual retail location. It might take you a couple months to negotiate a lease, a couple months to get permitting, a couple months to build out. It might, from the point at which you actually buy the license to develop that, it might take a year. Yeah. It might take 8 months, 10 months, a year and a half even before that business is actually open. There's so much lead up to it. And then you've got to spend a year ramping it up before you can realistically expect to take money back out of it. But I would say open the first location. Within a year, I was working on the second one. And another year, we were working on the next one as well.
That's crazy. Yeah. And then totally 50 in Atlanta itself, huh?
Well, not me personally, but the brand grew from there. We started the original locations right in the core of Atlanta in the Buckhead and Brookhaven area, and then continued to expand through other franchisees and franchise partners all across the market. Now it's a very well-established market. Yeah, the cost, it very traditionally, what I call a single bay small box retail concept. So that would be, when you take a look at a shopping plaza, they usually have storefronts, right? Sets of storefronts. Mm-hmm. You have the single bay storefront, which is maybe like a 20-foot storefront. Think of like a UPS store or a Joint Chiropractic or maybe a Jimmy John's, something like that. That single bay concept on average costs somewhere typically between $300,000, $400,000 of investment to develop, market, ramp it up, get it making money. SBA loans, if you qualify, now to qualify for an SBA loans, you need to have semi-decent credit, maybe 670, 700 credit score, and you have to have some capital to put in yourself. But you qualify for an SBA loan, you only need to put in about 20%. 20% of that is $80,000. Yeah. Now, no franchisor is going to let you put in your last $80,000 into the business. They want you to have some runway so that way you can still cover your personal expenses. So a franchisor is typically looking for, in that single bay type concept, looking for you to have 100, 150,000 of liquid capital that you have access to. So you can cover your co-investment, but you also have to get pre-approval for an SBA loan. And then you've got those components. You have a skill set, you have some sort of qualities that they're looking for as a franchise partner. You have access to some liquid capital, whether it be through yourself or maybe family members partner with you or colleagues that you want to partner together and do something together. There's many ways to pull that kind of, if you've got 75,000 saved up and you have a friend that has 40, 50,000 saved up, well, why don't you guys go together and figure out what your mix is? Mm-hmm. You're split. Who's putting in what effort? Who's putting in what funds? And then together, as a partnership, you guys qualify for SBA, you qualify for the franchise. But yeah, you really only need to have maybe about $100,000 saved up of liquid capital in order to get into a top tier franchise. Yeah.
If they get into a franchise, they're not just going to dust off like, okay, these guys are going to help me set up the whole thing. How involved is it for someone coming into a brand?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the important thing to understand is it's your small business.
Yeah.
It's all on you.
It's all on me.
It's all on you. Now, a franchisor is there to support you, to show you the systems, to train you and coach you on the systems on how to execute, but it's all on you to execute, right? So every single thing you need from start to finish, we guide you through that process.
Yeah.
You know, as a regional developer myself, I'm also taking a little bit more of a lead on some aspects on the real estate side, because I really understand the real estate on how to position correctly, how to find the right centers and plazas to be in, how to have the right visibility, which trade areas are the right for that particular brand. So I'm going to provide a lot of assistance on that. But ultimately, you know, there might be 3 sites that would be great sites that I would approve, but ultimately the franchise partner is going to make the decision on which of those 3 that they want to invest in and sign the lease on. So obviously the franchisor is going to have all of the vendors and partners to be able to build it all out. And then you maybe want to get some general contractor bids, find a local general contractor that you really like, and then the general contractor has the construction manual, and he follows the manual. You order all the supplies, he builds it out, and obviously, if you're a new business owner, a new franchise partner, you're going to get a lot more support. You can't build it all on your own.
No.
You need to be able to develop a team under you, right, in order to be successful in business.
Yep. On a personal level, at what point do you say, I have enough? I have so many, locations or business partners. Is there a point where you're like, at this number, I'm done? Because you're also responsible for all these locations as well. You have to keep checks on them, right?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's something that I struggle with, and everybody has, and it's different for everybody, but everybody has maybe when they get to a level of success where they're like, I've achieved enough and I'm comfortable, and I want to focus my attention on other pursuits, on other, enjoyments, whether it be family or life or travel or something like that. And it's different for everyone. And the most beautiful thing that I could ever wish on someone is that they get to that point of enough.
Yeah.
But there's certain people who just keep striving.
Yeah.
Do you think that, the most successful people in the world, do you think they ever get to enough? Do you think Elon Musk ever gets to enough?
No. Because we always think you have so much money. What are you going to do with all that money? But then the people that I talked to, the other entrepreneurs, they said that it's hard to quit because they find satisfaction in helping people. Right. And
that's the thing is the more you make, the more successful you become, the wider net you can cast, and the larger the shade tree you can build. And the more successful you become, the larger that umbrella is cast to bring more people in and lift them up with me. And that's what drives me. That's what I'm passionate about. I love investing in people and seeing them become successful and just watching them break through to where they are able to achieve a lifestyle that maybe they dreamed that they would get to. That really excites me.
So for someone who's grown and into business, what characteristics do you think is most important for them to pick up? And I think you already mentioned it, but I want to hear it again from you.
Learn those leadership skills and try so hard to develop an understanding and a true desire to be a servant leader, to understand that your role is not to be the boss of everyone, but your role is to inspire, lead, and lift up everyone in your organization. Yeah. If you can make that transition within yourself, you can achieve great things. Yeah. And that's one of the most difficult things when we're cultivating leadership from within, is we sometimes have great operators, people, doctors and operations people, maybe front desk people that have an amazing skill set, and they're the best. They're the absolute best at what they do, but they have that quarterback mentality. Yeah. It all circulates around them. They're the firebrand. They're the strike points of that office, that organization. And when we sometimes try to elevate them into more of a leadership role, they can't transition their thinking out of being the quarterback and more into being the coach.
Yeah.
And when you're in the position of being the coach, but it's still all about you, it doesn't work. Leadership is about sacrifice. You sacrifice yourself to the betterment of everyone around you, and then they lift you up on their shoulders.
We talk about it all the time, how much the car can open up doors for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like just people coming up to you all the time, like, what do you do? And stuff like that. And, you know, you tell them, like for us, we do air guns, and people don't know about our high-end air guns. So for them to come up and I'm telling them, you know, we do air guns, and it opens their minds like, oh, we're going to come by your shop and take a look. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're right. I mean, obviously, buying an exotic car is almost every, childhood boy's dream.
Yeah.
Right? And that's like, when I get to a certain level of success, that's what I want to get to, right? Yeah. For me, I was always a mentality of scarcity when it came to finances. Yeah. Save, so that way you had seed capital to invest in the next business. Save, parlay that into the next business. Save. You always wanted to save. And I never got an extravagant car. But I have absolutely noticed that when I got the exotic car, a lot of acquaintances and casual friends that I see out, at the happy hours and the business networking events and the night spots, all of a sudden we're like, hey, how come we never talked business before?
Yeah.
What do you do again?
Yep.
And all of a sudden there's just a tremendous amount of interest in what I'm doing and maybe wanting to be a part of it when they see a physical embodiment of success. Yeah. I was just someone who loved to hang with everybody, be one of the guys, and never really flaunt, right? And so this was like kind of the first, big statement of success purchase that I had ever made, and seeing how it's actually inspired a lot of people was interesting to me. A lot of friends that I have who are still on their own journey, trying to strive and achieve success, are inspired by the fact that I have this beautiful exotic car, and they're like, I need to buckle down. Yeah. I need to work harder. I want to get there too. What I didn't realize was how much it would inspire others in my circle to strive and work harder to also be able to achieve a level of success for them to be able to feel like they can afford to get into the kind of the exotic lifestyle.
Yeah. And that's the same for me. I was never that, to show off the kind of guy. For me, my first experience was with the R8. And the R8, just driving that around, I was telling you, go gas station, anywhere, people take note and they want to know, what do you do? And so when Brody came along, he started working for me. He's like, that's an awesome car. One of my friends, that's his dream car. And then I got the Lambo. And these are just all milestones for me. I've worked so hard. And then these are just like rewards for myself to show that, you did it, Yeah. But then it unexpectedly opened the doors to inspire other people. So we started Supercar Mindset, and we're like, okay, let me talk to other entrepreneurs, like successful entrepreneurs, and get their perspective on how they got to that level, And it's not like to push it in their face. These are just motivations. When I was in debt, watching those YouTube videos was what motivated me. Yeah. I can watch over and over. Like I stayed up late at night, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, just watching motivation. But you don't get there unless you take your first step, right? Right. To make a change. So that's our goal, to help people take that first step, make a change in their life, sacrifice for 1 or 2 years, and then reward themselves later on.
Absolutely. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.